The sky was a calm, endless blue, dotted with soft, drifting clouds. Then, a sudden, earth-shaking roar of jet engines shattered the peace. Sometimes, heroes don't wear uniforms. Sometimes, they're just passengers. Ordinary people who never expect history to choose them. Flight 782 departed from Frankfurt on a quiet, unremarkable morning, with Washington as its destination. The cabin was a familiar mix of humanity families excited for vacation. Business travelers focused on their work, and soldiers on their way home. Everything felt completely normal. Another routine transatlantic flight. In row 17, seat F, sat Emily Carter, a young widow. She held a paperback in her hands, its pages turning without her really seeing the words. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't a pilot. She was flying alone for the very first time in her life. A small urn containing her late husband's ashes tucked carefully in her bag. She was taking him to the place he loved most. Halfway across the vast expanse of the Atlantic, the atmosphere began to shift. In the cockpit, the pilots received a series of scrambled, unnerving signals. On the ground, air defense systems flashed an emergency code, and 2 F-16 fighter jets were scrambled, their engines screaming as they tore into the sky. Inside the passenger cabin, blissful ignorance reigned, but not for long. Emily noticed the flight attendants whispering urgently to one another, their faces pale with a tension they couldn't hide. She felt a subtle change in the rhythm of the engines, a slight vibration that wasn't there before. Then, a child's innocent voice cut through the cabin's low hum. "Mum, why are there fighter jets outside our window?" All heads turned. 2 F-16s were flying in tight formation alongside the passenger jet, impossibly close, sleek, and deadly. The captain's voice came over the intercom, calm and measured, but the strain underneath was unmistakable. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are being escorted as a precaution. Please remain in your seats." But his words did little to soothe the rising anxiety. Panic began to ripple through the cabin like a contagion. What no one on board knew was that intelligence agencies suspected a hijack attempt was in progress. The pilots had received a chilling warning. If the aircraft deviated from its designated flight path, impossible, life or death decisions would have to be made. Then, the situation escalated. The F-16 pilots noticed something even worse. The civilian jet was losing altitude, a slow, worrying descent. Its engine output was irregular. The plane was in mechanical distress. They immediately requested backup. From a nearby airbase, an A-10 Warthog was launched. Major Daniel Hawk Reynolds took the call, even though his shift had officially ended hours ago. He was a veteran of countless combat missions overseas, a pilot who had seen the worst of war. But this was different. This wasn't a foreign battlefield. This was home. Back inside Flight 782, fear had morphed into raw, visceral terror. People were openly crying now. Some prayed, their whispers filling the tense air. Strangers held hands, finding small comfort in human contact. But, as the chaos mounted, Emily felt a different kind of dread. It wasn't about the fighter jets outside or the strange vibrations of the plane. Something was wrong, not outside the aircraft, but inside it. Her husband had flown a TENS. His voice echoed in her memory, a lesson she never thought she'd need. "Emily," he'd told her once, "if you're ever on a plane and see someone near an emergency exit who shouldn't be there, trust your instincts." Always, her eyes scanned the cabin, and then she saw him. A man, standing too close to the emergency door over the wing. He was sweating profusely, his body shifting with nervous energy. His hand kept brushing against the door's handle, a subtle, repeated motion. Her heart began to pound in her chest, a frantic drum against her ribs. Taking a deep breath, she unbuckled her seatbelt. She stood up and started walking towards the back of the plane, pretending she was just going to the restroom. As she got closer, she saw it clearly. The deep scratches around the handle, fresh and sharp. The man's wild, desperate eyes. She recognized the terrifying finality in his gaze, the moment right before disaster strikes. Without a second thought, she screamed, her voice cutting through the panic. "He's trying to open the door." The effect was instantaneous. Chaos exploded. Passengers surged forward, a wave of adrenaline and fear. The cabin crew reacted with trained precision. The man fought back, screaming incoherently. But it was too late. He was overwhelmed, restrained with seatbelts, neckties, and the sheer force of determined hands. The immediate hijack attempt was stopped. But the danger was far from over. A small device he had been carrying sparked, and thick, acrid smoke began to fill the cabin. Alarms shrieked, a piercing, deafening wail. An emergency landing was declared immediately. The only option, a small airbase, barely long enough to handle a jet of this size. That's when the A-10 Warthog arrived. Major Reynolds's voice crackled through the cockpit radio, a beacon of calm in the storm. "Flight 782, this is Warthog 3. I see you. I'm with you now. Follow my lead." An impossible, breathtaking sight unfolded in the skies over Virginia. A rugged, heavily armed combat aircraft, designed for ground attack, was now a guardian angel, guiding a wounded civilian plane toward safety. The F-16s held their position, guarding the wings like sentinels. Inside, Emily sat trembling, her hands burned from the struggle, her entire body shaking uncontrollably. She didn't feel brave, she felt terrified. The landing was violent. Tires screamed as they hit the tarmac, and smoke billowed from the overworked brakes. But they were down. They had landed. Against all odds, everyone had survived. As Emily stepped onto the tarmac, the air tasting of fuel and freedom, she looked up. High above, the A-10 dipped its wings in a silent, powerful salute before banking away, disappearing back into the clouds. In the days that followed, the world called her a hero. News cameras and reporters followed her, eager for her story. But she just shook her head, her voice soft and humble. "I'm not a hero," she said. "I just remembered what my husband taught me. Sometimes courage doesn't announce itself. It simply answers when chaos calls." She was just a passenger, a widow carrying her husband's memory. But because of her, every single person on that flight made it home. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more. Because the most powerful heroes are often the ones we never see coming.